I don't know if any of you have seen my movie Lemonade. The movie is a journey of self-worth. It tells the story of a lady, Zoe, who found herself in a relationship with a narcissist who made her life a living hell. But then again, the flip side to that story is the fact that apparently Zoe, going into that relationship, had given up on herself and had practically lived her life trying to build Ayo's life, who was her narcissist boyfriend. She had abandoned her own dreams, whatever she wanted to do with her life, whatever she wanted to make out of life, and she took everything she was, every gift she had, every resource she had, and she was putting it into building Ayo's life. The relationship was so toxic for her. Ayo abused her mentally, emotionally, and verbally, and she felt less and less of herself every day until she lost her self-worth completely. Change came for her when she decided to, her eyes were open and she decided to walk out of that relationship to find herself. And that happened because something drastic happened in her life. She had used her father's house to take a loan for Ayo's business, which she was helping him to build. And Ayo was not paying back the loan. The bank was moving to foreclose on her father's house. Now, that reality that she was about to lose the only thing she had left in this world was what made her take the decision she had been scared of taking all this while. And she walked out of that relationship to start building her life back all over again. And not just building her life back, she now began to pay back the bank loan, which was in millions, money she didn't even spend. And then at the end of the day, this painful process brought her to a realization that, she needed to start putting all that energy she was putting into building Ayo, into building herself. And eventually real love came knocking on her door, but she didn't give in to it just like that. She decided to weigh what was more important to her, building her life or going into another relationship, and at the risk of, losing everything. And she decided to go with building her dreams first. And when she had achieved the dream she wanted to achieve, she was able to connect with true love at the end of the day. Now, I'm telling this story because today I want to talk about we being able to set healthy boundaries in our relationship, being able to maintain our self-worth in relationships, and being able to comport ourselves in the right way in relationships to make sure that we maintain our own identity and know where we start, where we stop, where our partners start, where they stop in a relationship, and where the relationship is about both of us. It's important that we're able to figure all this out so that we don't go into a relationship, lose our sense of individuality, and end up being resentful and bitter because we waste our years and our times investing in someone who didn't ask you to, forgetting that you also need to be invested in. And who better to invest in you than you yourself first? Because it's easier to pull somebody down the ladder than up the ladder. And you can't give what you don't have. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup for it to overflow before you can pour into somebody else's cup. But when your own cup is not even full yet and you start pouring into somebody else's cup, what happens is that you empty your cup. And by the time that cup is empty, guess what happens? Probably the other person's cup is full because, you poured your liquid into the person's cup. You're going to start getting resentful, like, oh, you have water to drink and I don't have. But that wasn't the person's fault. You just didn't know where to stop. You didn't know where you started and where you ended. You didn't know how to comport yourself in that relationship. When we come back, let's look at how important it is to set healthy boundaries in a relationship. Let's look at how important it is to have a sense of individuality when we go into relationships, and how important your self-worth is when you're in a relationship, and even to a success of a relationship, and how your self-worth determines the kind of people you attract into your life. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Now, before we go on, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit that red button and turn on your notifications so if I post a new episode, you'll be the first to know. Now that done, let's move on to talking about self-worth. Now, self-worth is knowing who you are and the value you possess. Now, when you know who you are and the value you possess, it means that you have a sense of individuality. It means that you know who you are, you know what you're about, and you know where you are going with your life. Knowing who you are and knowing what value you possess helps you to also know intentionally where you're going with your life. And once you have that in place, nobody can come and, deter you from your journey. But if you don't know who you are, the value you possess and where you're going with your life, every wind that comes will blow you. If somebody comes to you and say, oh, let's start building a house together, you're going to move there. Oh, somebody comes to you and say, oh, let's start network marketing together, you're going to go there. Somebody comes tomorrow and say, oh, let's go and, I have a farm, I want to go into farming, let's start farming together. Farming probably is not your calling, it's not what you want out of life, it's not your dream, but you think that if you do that, you'll be able to please your partner and be able to keep that partner in that relationship. So most times we don't draw healthy boundaries. We don't value ourselves in relationships because it's either we have very low self-worth, that means we don't know who we are and the value we possess, we don't have a sense of individuality, or we don't even know what we want out of life. And then most times, because you want to keep pleasing the next person for validation and acceptance, you want to live your life pleasing the person, abandoning what is important in your own life. Now, let me say something that you probably might not know. One of the things that will attract your partner to you is who you are before your partner meets you. Most times it's the fact that, oh, this woman is independent, this woman is a career woman, or this woman is hardworking, or this woman is building a business, or this woman knows her onions, or this woman knows what she wants out of life. The only person who will attract somebody who wants to come and control your life and use you and take advantage of you is a people pleaser. Now, if you're a people pleaser who just goes with the wind, I don't really have a particular here or there, but whoever I'm with, what my mission is to please that person, then you're going to attract a lot of people who are going to come and take advantage of you, most of them being narcissists, which was the case with Zoe. Zoe was at a point in her life where she just wanted people's validation or acceptance. And to do that, she felt that the more she gave of herself, the more she sacrificed, the more she abandoned herself and lived her life for Ayo was going to accept her. But instead, it made Ayo treat her worse by the day. It made Ayo look down on her. It made Ayo devalue her. And funny enough, Zoe had a lot of value because, she prepared Ayo's proposals. She was the brain behind all his businesses. She would cook for him. She would take care of him. In fact, there was a point Ayo told her when, they were breaking up the relationship that he's a project and he's not someone that she can just keep on a shelf. Now, Ayo is able to say that because Zoe didn't have boundaries. If Zoe had established who she was in that relationship, if she had a sense of individuality, if she knew her onions, if she was grounded and intentional about her life, Ayo won't tell her he's a project, because we are all projects to ourselves. I'm a project, I'm a work in progress, you understand? And the first project I should work on is myself. I need to work on myself. Like I said in the first segment, if you don't fill your cup, you can't pour into somebody else's. You can't give what you don't have. So the first project is you. And that means that you have to do everything that you need to do to grow and evolve into that best version of yourself, who is grounded at a point where you can now pull other people up, where you can now pour into others because your own cup is overflowing. But you see, when you don't do that and you make yourself available and you make people feel, you know what, my life is not important, I'm number two, you are number one, let's just focus on you, then that person is going to tell you he's a project and you can't abandon him on the shelf. You have to make him number one, because if you make yourself number two, everyone is going to treat you as number two and put themselves way ahead of you. People are going to put their needs before your own. I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with you being sacrificial or helpful to your partner or someone you're in a relationship with. You can, but it's important to know where to draw the line. Whatever you do at the detriment of your own growth is unhealthy. So if you are someone who was vested in living a particular dream and you believe that that is the dream that your soul is calling out to, before you go into a relationship, going into that relationship is not a ticket to abandoning who you are, who you are working on becoming, or what you are working on building, because you want to focus on your partner so he knows that you love him so much and it's about him. It might not even be your decision. It might be your partner saying, you know what, abandon everything you're doing. Now I'm married to you. This is what your life should be about. Don't forget, everyone that walks this earth has a portfolio. Nobody is here by accident. We all have portfolios. There's a reason we walk the earth. We all have assignments. And most times when God brings us together with people that we are in relationships with, or people we marry or we're partners with, is because there's a role we're both meant to play in each other's life. Sometimes the role your partner is meant to play in your life is a role that is supposed to grow you, and that role might be painful. But you have to be able to recognize it, just like Zoe. Ayo played a very fundamental role in her life. If Ayo didn't give her all that negativity and all that pain and all that trauma, she probably would never have grown into the woman she became, recognizing that she needed to build back her self-worth, take her power back, and build her own life. She wouldn't have even attracted the right man, because the right man was attracted to the fact that Zoe was very enterprising, was very hardworking, was a go-getter. And I'm sure that was who she was before Ayo met her. But meeting Ayo, she lost herself because she didn't have self-worth or a sense of individuality before she went into that relationship. Now, when we come back, I don't know if you're dealing with one of these issues I'm talking about in your relationship. I don't know if you feel like your partner is taking advantage of you or walking all over you, or you feel shortchanged in your relationship, or you feel like you have abandoned your dream for years because you're trying to please your partner, or you're trying to live a different life, or just put your partner before you. I don't know what it is. I don't know if you're even in a relationship with a narcissist who is making your life a living hell, who doesn't even want you to move forward with your life, who is holding you down. I don't know if you're in a relationship that is not adding to your life, rather it is tearing you down or taking away from you. Whatever it is, when we come back, let's talk about how you can learn to set the right boundaries and build your self-worth in the relationship you're in, or if you're not in a relationship, how you should build them so you can attract the right kind of people into your life. Don't go away. I'll be right back. How do you maintain your self-worth in a relationship? Or how do you build healthy boundaries in a relationship to make sure that you do not lose yourself? It is important to understand that you are the most important project in your life that you must work on. Nobody is coming to work on you except you. Now, there are people who are empaths, and empaths are people who are gifted with the ability to put themselves in other people's shoes. Now, this kind of people most times always turn out to be people pleasers, because when they're able to put themselves in other people's shoes, they tend to feel like they need to save the next person. They're always drawn to people who need saving. They always want to save the next person. Now, you can't save everybody. And you can't save everybody at the expense of losing yourself. You must be able to find a balance. And most times, women who are empaths are always drawn to men who need saving. And they always think it's their job to save the next person. But I'm here to tell you that nobody can save anybody. It's our job to save ourselves. And saving ourselves comes from the journey that we go through in our lives. The experiences we go through are the things that grow us. Yes, you can be a support system for someone, but you can never save a person who is not ready to save himself. And for you to save somebody, you must have gone through your process and grounded yourself to a point that you understand who you are, what you want out of life, and what you're about. Because if you don't know that and you decide to go on this spree of saving people, being a savior and a messiah all over the place, you're going to lose yourself in the process, because you're going to be taking up different missions, different journeys, different assignments that will just derail you from what is important. And that is why sometimes you find out that empaths end up needing time to recharge, because they're giving of themselves so much to everyone and their energies are being drained. Now, if you're one person who feels that that is the kind of person you are, and you feel that especially in your relationship, it is giving you a short end of the stick, it's time for you to learn how to set the right boundaries. So in a relationship, you have to know where you start, where you stop, where your partner starts now, and where your partner stops and your partner ends. Who you are before you went into a relationship is very important. It's very important that you're intentional about your life. You know what you want out of life. You know who you are. You have an identity. You understand? Now, if you have that and you are in a relationship, don't let go of that because you're in a relationship, because that's the reason why your partner was attracted to you in the first place. Now, you don't let go of that. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be there for your partner, but you need to know where to draw the line. Whatever you're going to do that is going to jeopardize your journey as a person, that is you going into uncharted territories. Whatever you have to do for your partner, that means that you have to abandon your life as it is a no-no. You have to understand that you must find a balance, how you can give of yourself to your partner, but also still stay on track with who you are and what you want out of life. And it's important that you and your partner are on the same page when it comes to what you both want out of life. Because the truth is, if you're grounded and you know what you want, your partner can see it. He knows that, okay, this woman knows her onions. She knows what she wants. She knows what she's doing with her life. I'm not coming here to build her, to shape her, to mold her, to make her somebody else. I'm coming here to get in line because for some reason, we complement each other. But when you are someone who haven't found your grounding or your balance, your partner can also tell. And probably that is what will even attract him to you to say, okay, I can manipulate this one. I can move this one around. I can use this one. I can make this one do whatever I want at my beck and call. So if I decide tomorrow that she's not going to work anymore, she's just going to stay at home and take care of my children, she doesn't have a choice, she's going to do it. And then you're going to stay at home, you're going to be miserable because you probably are someone who is meant to probably make a difference in some industry or some sector in your lifetime, but you don't get to live that purpose because you didn't have any grounding or sense of, self-worth or value. You didn't even know who you were or what you are meant to do with your life or what you want out of life. And this person was able to come and just maneuver things and just, bring your life to a standstill. So it is important that the first thing you should do is find out who you are. A lot of people don't, because sometimes you go through different relationships, whether they're intimate or family or friends, and everybody's dictating how you should be or what you should do or how your life should be or how you should behave, that you have forgotten what really is important to you or who you really are or how you really want to live your life. So it's time for you to take a step back and figure out who you are as a person, what you want out of life, what you're about, and what value you possess on the inside. Then it's important to know what you want out of life and where you are going with your life. When you figure all that out, compare it to the life you have now. Is there anything about it that is in tandem with your blueprint? If there's nothing about it that is in tandem with your blueprint, it's time for you to go back to your drawing board and put things right. And by setting things right, you would need to start drawing some boundaries. Now, boundaries that did not exist before, if you start drawing those boundaries, especially in a relationship, it's going to create a lot of problems. There's even a high chance you might lose that relationship because the person is used to things being done in a particular way. But I can assure you one thing, when the person discovers that you know what you want and you know what you're doing and you know what you want out of life, guess what? They will always respect that and either come back if they mean well for you, or leave for good if they didn't mean well for you. Because one thing with growth is you will always attract people who are on the same level of growth or see life from the same perspective as you or are in the same alignment in life as you. But people who are not in that alignment as you grow are just generally going to fall off your bandwagon, and you have to be comfortable with that because you have to know what is important to you. Is it important to you to live a life that is purposeful and die and leave this world knowing that you lived a meaningful life, or it's just important to you to just please people? You have to make up your mind which is important. Now, when you figure out what is important, then it's time for you to now start setting the right boundaries in your life or in your relationship, because some of you might be in relationship, some of you might not be in relationship, but whatever it is, the first thing you must do is find out who you are. There are a lot of personal assessment tests online that you can use to find out at least a little about your temperament, your personality, your capabilities, and those things always take you back to remembering what you have always wanted out of life, or what your soul, what resonates with your soul, or what you're meant to do, what your assignment is, because you already know it. It's innate, it's on the inside. You feel it, you think about it every day, but sometimes you forget because you're carried away by the noise or all the other things that you have given yourself to. But by the time you start taking this step, you start, putting your life back together and finding the pieces of your puzzle. Speak to a life coach, speak to a mentor, speak to whoever it is that always shines light on whatever you're going through, and figure out what it is you're meant to do with your life, because it's important to be intentional about life. Now, when you figure that out and fix your house, That is when your relationship begins to run on a foundation that is built on love, respect, and value. Now, that said, take some time out and figure out who you are. It's important to know who you are first. You might think you do, but if you sit in front of the mirror today and ask yourself, who am I? What do I like? You'll find out that you had lost who you were along the way a long time ago. Figure out what you like, what you want out of life, what you have always wanted to do, what were those things that you were passionate about, and figure out if you're still in that space, if you're still pursuing those dreams, or even still being that person. If you're not, then it's time for a reality check, and it's time for you to start working on yourself. That's all for me today. Until the next episode, don't forget you're the best project you can work on, and you are a work in progress and a masterpiece all at the same time. Bye-bye.